The shocking truth about Prophet Elijah. 7 miracles that haunt us forever. A hush fell over the crowd as they whispered tales of the ancient prophet who had conjured fire from the sky and parted raging waters. Was it real? Or just another ghost story to chill the bones on a dark night? People claimed they had seen shadows flickering in the corners of their visions, echoes of Elijah's long-lost power lingering in the air. They say these miracles left a mark, not just on the world, but on the souls of those who witnessed them. One chilling night, under the ominous gaze of crimson moon, a lone woman named Sarah stumbled upon an old, crumbling book in her attic. Its pages, yellowed and tattered, spoke of 7 miracles so strange they defied belief. Each miracle was more bizarre than the last, hinting at a connection with ancient spirits that might still track their lives. The first spoke of a drought that lasted years, only to end when a flick of Elijah's wrist summoned storms that crashed with the fury of the sea. The townsfolk had been driven mad with fear, their crops withering until finally they threw their hands up to the heavens. And then, just like that, the rains came as if a switch had been flipped, but the second miracle was darker still. Villagers reported seeing burning chariots streaking across the sky, fiery trails scarring the night like a sky of blood. Children would clutch their parents, wide-eyed, believing they were witnessing the very hand of God. But was it divine, or was something much more sinister? As Sarah flipped through the book, her heart raced. Each story pulled her in deeper, thunderous whispers, speaking of curses and blessings intertwined. It felt as though shadows watched her every move, and with each turn of the page, she could almost hear Elijah's voice stirring the air, beckoning her to uncover more. What were these miracles hiding? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Suddenly, a storm swept through, rattling the windows and sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. Thunder boomed, and in that instant, she felt a chilling presence, as if the past was clawing its way back into the present. She turned the page to the third miracle, but the words were blurred, almost pulsating. It felt alive. Was Elijah's spirit trying to break through? Would she find the answers, or would she fall victim to the horrors of each miracle? With a clenched fist around the book, Sarah's breath hitched. There was something out there, something echoing her curiosity, deepening the mystery surrounding Prophet Elijah. Could she unlock the secrets that haunted so many? Or would the wrath of those ancient miracles consume her instead? The air thickened with tension as the thunder roared. What was she about to discover next? The moment Sarah's eyes landed on the pulsating words, a jolt shot through her, as if an electric current had surged from the book right into her core. She inhaled sharply, the ancient dust in the attic swirling in the air like trapped spirits. Outside, the thunder rumbled ominously, resonating with her heart like a war drum echoing in the distance. As she focused, the blurred text began to clear. The writing spoke of the third miracle, a haunting lament that claimed the souls of those who wandered into its whispers. The tale chilled her. It described a widow, abandoned in sorrow, who ventured into the desolate woods, enchanted by a voice promising to reunite her with her lost husband. What followed was a night of horror. The woods twisted, shadows lengthened, and the very trees wept tears of darkness. Sarah shuddered. The story resonated within her. Could it be possible for the dead to reach out? Was the storm outside conjured by grief, as fierce as the widow's? Her mind spiraled, each thought weighed down by dread. Instinctively, she glanced toward the window, half expecting to see faces looming in the torrential downpour. But no one was there. The silence was deeper than a grave. The storm's fury roared, Yet within those walls, Sarah felt a suspicious quiet, as if the world outside held its breath. She peered closer at the book, tracing her finger over the faded ink. There, in the margins, scrawled in an erratic hand, were the words, "The fifth miracle can free you." The truth must be faced for a moment. She considered closing the book, setting it back on the shelf. But curiosity chained her. What did it mean? The fifth miracle? And what truth was waiting to be uncovered? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden blast of cold air, making the hairs on her arms stand on end. The attic door creaked open, revealing a shadow silhouetted against the dim light. Heart racing, Sarah called out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" No response. Gathering her courage, she approached the door, her heartbeat echoing louder in her ears than the tempest outside. As she reached the threshold, the shadow flickered. It resembled a figure, impossibly tall and twisted, lurking just beyond the door. Or was it just her imagination playing tricks in the dim light? She grasped the book tightly, its weight both comforting and frightening. "Show yourself," she shouted, her voice trying to mask the tremor rising within her. The shadow remained frozen, just a whisper away. As she inched closer, Sarah's vibrant imagination filled with images of Elijah, armed with the power of the storm. It was said he was a connector of realms. Was he here with her now? Or had the miracles taken a darker turn? She could feel the air crackle, as if the past and present were colliding. Finally, with a defiant step, she flung the door wide open. The figure shifted, flowing like smoke. But when the light splashed over it, it vanished in a thin AI in its wake. An old photograph slipped out from where it had been concealed. Sarah bent down to pick it up, unease gnawing at her gut. The image was faded, but the faces were unmistakable. They were the people offered up in the earlier miracles, wisdom etched in their features, eyes filled with sorrow. What had Elijah demanded from them? What price had they paid? Suddenly, the storm's intensity crescendoed, and Sarah's world spiraled as she heard a new whisper, urgent and alive. Find a fifth miracle the walls closed in. What awaited her at the end of this journey? Would she uncover the true power of Elijah or become another victim to shadows lurking in the past? As she grappled with fear and determination, a new noise pierced the air, the howl of the wind, mingling with a voice that sang of longing, echoing distinctly, yet impossibly familiar. Who was calling her into the storm? The night deepened, and the storm grew ever more furious, waiting for her next move. The wind howled aggressively outside, throwing rain against the attic windows like desperate fingers trying to claw their way in. Sarah's heart thundered wildly in her chest, thrumming a fearful rhythm that matched the unruly storm. She clutched the photograph in her hands, feeling a deep chill race down her spine. Each face captured in that faded image bore an unmistakable sorrow, an open wound carved into their hearts. As she studied them, a realization struck her like a lightning bolt. They looked eerily familiar, mirroring the shadow she had glimpsed moments before. Were they victims? Or were they warning her? Stop! The voice, a mix of anguish and power, wrapped around her like a shroud. It surged from within the depths of the attic, chilling her bones. "Who is there?" Sarah stammered, her voice barely breaking above the storm. The house seemed to quake with the energy swirling around her. "I am the echoes of the past," the voice replied, softer now, yet it reverberated with authority. "You seek the truth, child, but the truth comes at a cost." Sarah's fingers trembled around the photograph. "What do you want from me?" Her throat felt tight, a lump forming where her courage used to reside. She felt drawn to the shadows, the thrill of danger playing at the edges of her consciousness. "Find a fifth miracle," the voice insisted, rising in urgency. "But beware, not all who enter the circle of Elijah return whole. The price is steep, and many are willing to pay, yet none are truly free." "Who are you?" Fear tightened its grip around her throat, suffocating her. "Are you one of Elijah's former miracles?" "I am what remains when souls are offered in exchange," the voice whispered, reverence wrapping around every word. Find a fifth miracle, Sarah. Unravel the truth before it unravels you. The walls shuddered, shadows darting across the room like scuttling crabs. Sarah felt a rush of air, a demon's breath pressing against her skin, clawing at her sanity. She couldn't tell if the feeling was real or a figment of her imagination, but she could not ignore it. The photograph slipped from her fingers, floating momentarily before drifting down like a fallen leaf. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. A crack of lightning illuminated the attic, revealing the outline of that shadow again, more defined this time, its features becoming sharper. It moved with an otherworldly grace, gliding closer. "Do you long to touch the souls who lingered?" it asked, voice now layered with sorrow and longing. "Will you face the anger of the trees, the cries of the lost?" "Let me go," Sarah shouted, panic coursing through her veins. She felt trapped between the truths of the photographs and the horror of the whispering shadows. Gaining her wits, she thrust herself forward, pushing against the door. "But wouldn't he budge?" "You must accept the truth," the shadow breathed, pausing to sweep back its dark cloak as flickering light illuminated its visage. "Only then can you find the fifth miracle." As if struck by a sudden realization, Sarah's heart pounded louder than the storm outside. The fifth miracle, its nature was not an ending, but a connection to everything that had been lost. "Where do I find it?" she asked, feeling desperation seep into her voice. The shadow smiled, a cruel twist of a grin that cut through the gloom. "In the depths of the woods where the trees weep, where the lost call out with voice and song. Only there will you uncover the truth suddenly." The whispering chorus echoed, countless voices merging into one, chanting her name like a tidal wave of beckoning that threatened to drown her. Filled with a mix of dread and resolve, she knew she had little choice. As if on cue, the wind howled in raging fury, and shadows danced around her, teasing her with fragmented images of what lay ahead. Would she venture into the heart of the storm, or would she remain a prisoner of the attic forever? The echo of the voices clung to her, a promise and a threat intertwining. With a final surge of determination, she turned to face the doorway into the chaos where her fate awaited. What would she discover once she stepped beyond? Would she hold the key to the fifth miracle, or succumb to the whispers that haunted the night? The door creaked open, and cold air rushed in, blasting against her skin like an icy breath of the dead. Sarah stepped over the threshold, hesitating for just a moment to gaze back at the attic tomb of memories and warnings. She could still hear the echoes swirling in her mind, chanting her name, an insistent pull that urged her to continue. The storm raged around her as she descended, each step feeling like a descent deeper into an abyss. The wooden stairs groaned under her weight, the sounds merging with the crackling thunder outside. Rain lashed at the windows like a wounded animal, desperate to escape its confinement. Sarah focused, pushing those primal fears aside. She emerged into the dimly lit hallway, wallpaper peeling like ancient skin. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering in and out of existence under the intermittent bursts of lightning. For a heartbeat, she paused, straining her ears above the sound of the tempest. A faint whispering lurked just beyond the threshold of her hearing, beckoning her forward. "Find a fifth miracle," the voice hung in the air. Determined, she marched toward the door that led outside. The woods loomed ahead, dark and foreboding. A chill wrapped around her, sending shivers coursing through her body. But she had to go. She had to discover what truth awaited her there. She pushed open the door, the hinges protesting with a mournful squeal. The moment she stepped into the wild, she felt the full force of the storm. Rain drenched her as the wind snatched at her clothes, whipping them around like chaotic flags of surrender. But she pressed on, stepping out into the gloom. The trees swayed, their branches waving almost as if they were reaching for her, guiding her towards something crucial hidden deep within their embrace. Each step squelched in the mud, her shoes slipping on the soaked earth as the rain drummed a frantic rhythm against the canopy above. And then she heard a distant melody, soft and haunting, escaping from the mouth of the forest as if the trees themselves were singing. The sound wrapped around her, comforting and terrifying all at once. "Follow it," whispered, a command woven into the wind. The path grew narrower, nearly swallowed by vines and underbrush. Shadows flickered, teasing at the edges of her vision, and Sarah felt a cacophony of emotions rise up within her: fear, excitement, and undeniable yearning. What awaited her deeper in the woods? As she pressed further in, the singing grew louder, morphing into a chorus of desperate souls, mingled with cries of sorrow and whispers of truth. The trees swayed, their branches swishing together, creating a daunting symphony that echoed through the night. The ground felt alive beneath her feet, pulsing like a heartbeat, urging her to continue. Suddenly, the wind shifted. The chorus harmonized into a single note, a dissonant, chilling wail, unlike anything she had ever heard. The atmosphere felt electric, crackling with tension. She froze, scanning her surroundings. Shadows converged from every direction, creeping closer, their shapes transformed into distorted figures, faces filled with pain and eyes pleading. "Stay away," Sarah cried, taking a step back, her heart racing. But they didn't retreat. Instead, the figures swirled around her, singing louder, their bodies shifting like mist in the storm. "The fifth miracle is here in your hands, in your heart." "What do you mean?" she shouted, panic clawing at her throat. "What do you want from me?" Suddenly, the shadows slowed and parted, revealing a path leading to a clearing. In the center stood a gnarled tree, ancient and twisted with deep scars. Sarah felt drawn to it, an inexplicable pull that urged her closer. As she approached, she felt the weight of countless eyes on her, ghostly figures watching, waiting that a gust of wind swirled around her. The eerie music crescendoed, mixing with her heartbeat, drowning her reason. Had she really stumbled onto something so profound? Or was she being lured into a trap? With trembling hands, she reached out to touch the tree, its bark rough and cold. Beneath her fingertips, a jolt shot through her, grounding her, igniting her senses. The forest went silent. The shadows hovered, holding their breath, awaiting her next move. In that moment, Sarah knew one thing: whatever lay ahead would unravel the very fabric of her existence. The price of truth loomed heavy in the air, and the cost remained unknown. What would happen when she unearths the fifth miracle? Would she emerge unscathed, or would she pay a price too steep? Only the whispering trees seemed to know the answer, and Sarah could feel time slipping away like grains of sand. The wind howled, biting into Sarah's skin as if it were trying to pull her back. The silence felt alive, heavy with expectation. She rested her palm against the tree, feeling its rough surface, her pulse quickening. The whispers returned, louder now, electrifying. "Embrace it before it's too late." A tremor surged through the air. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her. The tree emitted a low groan, vibrating with secrets long buried, secrets that twisted in her mind, weaving through her thoughts like shadows searching for light. For a moment, she glimpsed fragments of visions, images spiraling through time. She saw herself as a child, laughing in the sunlit garden, the fragrance of blooming roses filling the air. She saw her mother, tender and smiling, brushing her hair before bedtime, calming her fears with stories that felt like magic. But then it shifted, faces darkened, the room grew colder, and shadows loomed larger than life, imposing figures that watched without pity. "No," she gasped, pulling her hand back as if burned. "What is this?" The forest erupted again, the cacophony of tortured souls screaming, drowning out her thoughts. The shadows twisted, morphing into the faces she had seen. They cried out in unison, echoing memories, regrets pressed deep within her heart. "Help us, help yourself. Why are you trapped here?" she yelled, her voice mingling with the storm. "What do you want from me?" The tree responded to her challenge, its bark cracking and splitting like thunder. A blinding light burst forth from the center of its gnarled trunk, illuminating the clearing. Sarah stepped back, shielding her eyes. A figure emerged, a woman, ethereal and bold, crowned with leaves and vines. "Be not afraid," the spirit said, her voice soft yet commanding. "I am Lena, guardian of the fifth miracle. You stand at the brink of knowledge, the secrets of your bloodline intertwined with this forsaken land." Sarah's stomach turned. "But why me? What I have to do with this?" The fifth miracle reveals truths, but it also demands sacrifice. It is both blessing and curse, revealing the heart of your lineage. Lena moved closer, her face a mask of sorrow. "You must choose. Learn of your past, or succumb to the fate awaiting you." The wind howled again, rattling the leaves, growing louder, drowning out everything but the thumping of her heart. "What fate?" "Dark shadows pursue," the spirit whispered, urgency creeping into her tone. "You're not the only one searching, and they will stop at nothing to claim the power you hold." Clarity cut through the haze. "Who? What do you mean?" But Lena faltered, her figure flickering like a dying candle. "The answer lies within the curse of the first 4 miracles and the truth of who you really are. You must face the shadows and unravel the bond you carry." Suddenly, the forest lurched again, snapping Sarah out of her trance, the ground beneath her slick with rain and dark energy. The whispers screamed louder, their desperation clawing at her insides. "Help us help yourself," Sarah grasped onto the gnarled tree for support, her mind racing. What was the truth she had been sheltered from? Was it worth the risk? Lena's face shimmered, as if the very light that illuminated her could vanish at any second. "The past can kill, Sarah. Only you decide how it shapes the future." "Wait," Sarah cried as the light flickered again. But the spirit vanished, leaving only the silhouettes, moving closer, their cries morphing into a chilling wail. Sarah felt panic rise in her throat. Shadows closed in, reaching out with elongated fingers. What was happening? Where's she meant to go? "What's my choice?" she shouted, but the shadows answered only with more screams, pressing in on her, enveloping her in darkness. Then she felt at the weight of her unanswered questions hanging desperately in the air. What truth lay just out of reach? And as the darkness enveloped her, the consumed echoes of shadows seemed to grow louder, drowning her in a whirlpool of despair. Could she face the truth of the fifth miracle, or would she be lost to the very forces she sought to understand? With shadows looming and her heart racing, she knew the choice must come swiftly. Time was no longer her ally, and her resolve began to waver under their relentless pull. What would she discover if she went deeper? What kind of power was waiting to be unleashed? The shadows surged, their forms flickering like the dying embers of a fire. Dark hands reached out towards her, menacing whispers clawing at the edges of her mind. The presence of the forest invaded her senses. Paralyzed, Sarah fought against the dread that seeped into her bones. She was trapped in an abyss, and every fiber of her being screamed to escape. Suddenly, from within the turmoil, a rush of desperation propelled her to act. She thought of her mother's loving embrace, the warmth of familiarity that anchored her amidst the chaos. "I will not be consumed," she whispered fiercely. Gradually, the shadows halted, as if taken aback. Their silence filled the space, thick like fog. "Face us," a voice whispered from within the mass of darkness, smooth and sultry like venom. "We are part of you. You can't hide." "No," she retorted, gathering what courage remained. "I want to succumb." With each heartbeat, the pressure around her shifted, a pulse of determination ignited within. What had Lena said? Truth lay in facing the past. Maybe it wasn't the shadows she needed to combat, but rather the truths they guarded. In that moment, she felt a surge, as if the tree behind her resonated with her resolve. She thought of Lena and the sacrifices that loomed. "What truth do you hold?" she shouted, her voice ringing with defiance. The shadows twisted, revealing distorted faces twisted in anguish. "You seek power without understanding." They hissed in unison, but knowledge is agony. "Will you bear the burden?" A tide of memories flooded back, hushed conversations in the kitchen, frantic late-night whispers, her mother's tears that fell like raindrops onto the secret stories of their lineage. The pain carved an ache within her, deepening as she recognized the love woven through sorrow. "I need to know," Sarah cried, her voice trembling but fierce. The shadows seemed to recoil, waiting. "Tell me, what is the curse of the first 4 miracles?" With a collective gasp, the shadows drew closer, reshaping themselves into a swirling vortex. Suddenly, flashes erupted within the maelstrom, visions of fire, loss, and betrayal. Dark events set against a backdrop of vibrant flickers where light battled against the encroaching gloom. "You linger at the edge of understanding," one shape replied, its eyes glimmering with sorrow. "Each miracle costs a piece of your spirit. The first reveals vision, the second sows the seeds of conflict, the third binds bloodlines and tragedy. The fourth? Oh, the fourth!" Its voice dropped to a chilling whisper. "The fourth demands sacrifice." Something clicked within Sarah. Each miracle was a story, a thread in the tapestry of her life, entwined with fates she never knew. "And the fifth?" she inquired, her voice barely a breath. "What does it demand?" "It demands your heart," the shadows answered, their tone low and elegant. "Only in the unraveling of your soul can you wield the power. Will you risk the echoes of those who came before?" Panic gripped her once more, tightening like a vice around her chest. She could sense the weight of the shadows, their hunger for something she wasn't yet ready to understand. Still, clarity surged through her. She couldn't let fear dictate her path. "I will face it," she declared, anger boiling inside her. "I won't run any longer. Let me witness the truth." Then, as if summoned by her conviction, the light within the great tree flared brightly, consuming the shadows in a radiant burst. The forest trembled, the air vibrating with energy. "I will guide you." Lena's voice rang out, ethereal and strong. "But the path is treacherous. The shadows will stop at nothing to claim you if you turn back." As the last words echoed, an unseen force drew Sarah toward the heart of the tree, where the light pulsed, illuminating her path forward. With a shaky breath, she stepped closer but suddenly felt icy fingers wrap around her ankle, pulling her down, deep into the abyss. "What will it take?" a haunting voice whispered as she fought against the dark. "What will you sacrifice?" And with that, the abyss loomed larger, a chasm of uncertainty and fear, leaving Sarah to confront the greatest truth of her life. What price would she pay to uncover the 5th miracle? The darkness closed in around her, a suffocating blanket that seemed to pulsate with malice. Sarah's heart raced, each thump a desperate plea for escape. The icy grip around her ankle tightened, and she stumbled, teetering on the brink of the abyss. Shadows writhed beneath her, hungrily waiting for her to falter. "No!" she screamed, digging her fingers into the bark of the tree behind her. The light pulsed brighter, as if sensing her resolve. And just like that, the shadows released their grip, but the threat remained, lurking just beyond the edges of her consciousness. "What will you sacrifice?" The question echoed in her mind, a dragnet of despair threatening to pull her under once more. Memories of her childhood flickered like old film reels. The warmth of her mother's arms, their shared laughter, the countless bedtime stories. Each snippet cut through the darkness, illuminating the strength she had always carried within her. She couldn't let the shadows win. "Not now, not ever." "Let me see," she shouted, voice trembling but resolute. "I can bear it." They laughed then, a cacophonous blend of sorrow and glee. "You think you understand sacrifice? You have yet to feel its true weight." The shadows twisted, morphing into a swirling vortex of faces, each one bearing the burden of their own failed promises, their own regrets. Sarah felt something shift inside her. An urgency surged, a need to know, to understand. "Show me what you mean," she demanded. "Show me the cost." The shadows recoiled, their forms flickering, faltering. "You tread a dangerous path, child. The truth isn't always a light to walk toward. Sometimes it leads to ruin." A flash of anger burned within her. "I'm not afraid." What have I got to lose if I already feel lost? The ground trembled beneath her, and with a sudden force, the vortex erupted into a blinding light, a whirlwind of colors swirling with a deafening roar. Sarah shielded her eyes, and when the brightness faded, she found herself standing in a vast, empty space. It felt like a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. Figures floated before her, disembodied and drifting, their expressions hollow. They began to whisper, voices overlapping, murmuring tales of loss and agony. Not all sacrifices are made willingly. One of the figures spoke, its voice hauntingly familiar. Some are born from pain, while others are crafted by choices we make. Who are you? She managed to whisper, dread coiling tightly in her gut. Echoes of those who fell before you, the figure replied. We sought power, believing it would free us. But we were wrong. One by one, vignettes unfurled like grotesque murals. Faces contorted in horror, eyes wide with despair. The more Sarah watched, the more she felt their anguish seep into her own soul. This is what I'll become? She gasped. Only if you let fear decide your fate, the voice answered, weaving through the darkness like a knife. You stand at a precipice. Will you step forward, or will you turn back into the shadows that claim the weak? She caught her breath, allowing the heaviness of their suffering to wash over her. This wasn't just about her. It was about all who came before, those who walked this path. A mantle of responsibility settled on her shoulders. No more running, she whispered, as determination hardened in her chest. I will carve out my own truth. As she spoke those words, a flicker of light ignited within her. An invisible force began to pull at the shadows, drawing them in, as if they recognized her intent. Face the darkness, she cried, letting the surge of power overwhelm her, illuminating the space around her. But the shadows were not finished. They surged back, the noise of their anger rising like a storm. No, you cannot confront the truths we protect. You are not ready. As the void distorted, freezing moments of uncertainty hung in the air. Her heart raced, the pulse of the tree behind her echoing her every thought. What awaited just beyond that threshold? Could she truly unlock the fifth miracle and master the shadows without losing herself completely? And in the midst of it all, one chilling thought lingered. What if the sacrifice she needed to make involved more than just her spirit? With a scream caught in her throat, she prepared to face whatever darkness lay ahead. Would she have the strength to reclaim her family's legacy, or would she succumb to the shadows like those before her? The shadows reverberated with discontent, swirling chaotically as if they sensed the shift in Sarah's resolve. She stood at the center of the chaos, every fiber of her being taut with uncertainty. Turn back, they wailed, voices merging into a nightmarish chorus that echoed into the depths of her mind. You don't understand, I do understand, Sarah shouted back, her voice slicing through the tempest. She felt a surge of fire within her, a determination that had been dormant for too long. I've seen the pain and loss, and I won't be another echo. The ground beneath her began to crack, ominously pulsing with the heartbeat of the shadows. Fear tingled in her toes, spreading like an invasive vine, but she pushed against it, forcing her courage to bloom. I will face my fate. The figures flickered, their faces morphing into grotesque representations of despair. One jolted towards her, its hollow eyes locked with hers. Do you think your bravery will shield you from the truth? It hissed. I'm willing to bear the truth. Sarah felt the weight of the words wrap around her. They were her armor against what lay ahead. Show me the cost, every last bit. I need to know what I might lose. The vortex spun faster, shattering the illusion of safety like glass. In that moment, images flooded her vision, her mother's laughter seized by silence, the warmth of family dinners devoured by shadows. Each tackle of memory cut deeper, until she gasped for strength she feared she might not have. Enough! The disembodied voice shrieked as the vortex twisted tighter. Everything went black for a heartbeat, and then a single blinding light pierced through the remnant shadows. Look, it commanded, She found herself standing on the precipice of a serene landscape, a bright field bathed in sunlight. It was beautiful and serene, but the peace felt fragile. Swaying flowers whispered secrets, but a cloud hung overhead, dark and ominous. It pulsed with the heartbeat of the shadows lurking just beyond her sight. "Is this my paradise?" she whispered, mesmerized by its allure. "Paradise?" The voice chuckled, darkly amused. "This is merely a facade. Look closer." As she peered deeper into the field, the lovely flowers wilted, their vibrant colors fading into shades of despair. Sarah's heart lurched. In the distance, figures appeared, familiar faces twisted in anguish. Family, friends, each trapped within their own anguish, shadows siphoning their life away, their screams muted and swallowed by the void. "No!" Sarah cried, stepping backward, panic flooding her veins. "I want to allow this. Your heart is drawn to the truth. But can you withstand the consequence of your knowledge?" Images flashed her past choices, glimmers of moments where she could have acted differently, but didn't. Each failure weighed heavily around her like chains. I can't change the past," she cried, frustration boiling over. "Then how do you plan to confront your future?" The voice thundered, shaking the very ground beneath her feet. "I will find a way." The firm conviction in her voice surprised even her. "I won't let them suffer." With those words, Sarah felt a pulse of power surge from deep within. She took a step forward into the brightness, determined to break the chains binding the echoes of her past. But the shadows roared back to life, coiling around her fiercely, their anger white-hot. "To fight against us, you will pay a price. Your pain will be your power, but what will you sacrifice?" A chilling realization struck her like a lightning bolt. Sacrifice had a form, and it meant something far more than abstract pain. "Wait," she stammered, the weight of understanding dawning upon her. "What do you want from me?" In the chaos, the question hung heavy, as if the shadows were waiting for her answer like wolves hungry for a meal. The shadows loomed closer, closing in on her. Sarah's heart raced, dread crawling up her spine. What must I give? And just like that, the brightness flickered, threatening to extinguish, leaving her with a choice she never anticipated. What part of herself was she willing to surrender to save them? All? The shadows tightened their grip around Sarah, their whispers turning into a menacing chant that reverberated through her very core. She could feel their fury mingling with her fear, a volatile cocktail of emotion that threatened to topple her resolve. Each flicker of the darkness felt like a warning, a reminder that she was standing on the edge of something far more terrifying than she could imagine. "What will you sacrifice?" The disembodied voice echoed, thick with anticipation. Its tone was both enticing and dreadful, promising power, but with a cost she could not comprehend. "No," she cried out, the desperation clawing at her throat. "I refuse to give in." But even as she spoke, doubt crept in like a slow poison. What would be left of her if she refused? Images of her family, her friends' laughter, joy faded like ghosts in her mind, leaving an ache so profound that she struggled against its weight. Every choice has a price. The voice hissed, and the shadows pulsed, drawing ever nearer. The ripple of anxiety coursed through her, each heartbeat echoing as she realized the implications of her stubborn refusal. She had come this far, braved the storm of her own history, all to face this malevolent force. Was turning back truly an option? Or would that choice cost them all? The faces of her loved ones twisted in her mind, a jarring reminder of what was at stake. Then, as the panic swelled within, her thoughts spiraled back to the sacrifices she had witnessed, the stories of heroes who gave everything for those they loved. A glint of inspiration ignited in her. Perhaps promise and pain could coexist. Perhaps sacrifice didn't mean surrender. "I will give you my regrets," she shouted, defiance flaring. "Each moment I wish things were different. Take them." The shadows halted, whispering in confusion. They recoiled slightly, drawn in by Sarah's fierce proclamation. "You think your past can be traded? Regrets cannot fill the void," the voice retorted, although a hint of uncertainty laced its tone. Then take my failures, my guilt. They haunt me more than I can bear, she cried, feeling the energy gather inside her, a warmth blossoming amidst the consuming darkness. I'll take the knowledge, but none of my light. Use my pain to save them, if that's what it takes. For a moment, silence enveloped the landscape. The sun shone a little brighter. The flowers danced as if they understood her intent. Sarah's heart raced, pumping courage through her veins, igniting every dormant ounce of strength. But shadows always thrived on loopholes and uncertainties. You misunderstand, the voice murmured, cold and wise. Every sacrifice has repercussions. What you offer will not merely be forgotten. It will leave a void. Before Sarah could respond, the ground beneath her buckled violently. The brightness flickered, the shadows swirling with frantic energy. Then, with a swift shift, they pulled her down, and she felt herself teetering on the precipice of despair. "No!" she screamed, the cries of her loved ones echoing in her ears, merging with the shadows' chilling laughter. "I want to lose you." The darkness twisted around her, wrapping her in its suffocating embrace, not yet revealing what it sought to claim. As the edges of her vision blurred and the world faded, Sarah grasped at the last shreds of warmth and courage swirling within her. "I'll find a way," she whispered, searching for an escape, for hope in the encroaching abyss. But as the shadows tightened their hold, a new voice broke through the faintest whisper of clarity amongst the chaos. But at what cost? The question lingered above her, haunting and profound, as everything she ever knew hung in the balance. And in that moment of paralysis, she realized the terrifying truth. To save them, she might have to embrace not just her pain, but something far more personal and devastating. What part of her very essence was she truly willing to give away? The answer loomed just out of reach, and with it, the fate of all she held dear hung in silence. Sarah stood at the edge of the abyss, the shadows circling like hawks, their whispers growing louder, wrapping around her mind like chains. Her heart raced, pounding fiercely against her ribcage. This was the pivotal moment. The depth of her resolve would determine the fate not just of herself, but of all the souls caught in the web of Elijah's ancient miracles. "Let go of my past," Sarah shouted against the howling winds, the thunder crashing in echo of her fury. "Each regret, each failure, each piece of guilt, take them if you must. But let my truth shine. Let them go free." The darkness quivered, a ripple of uncertainty snaking through the gathering shadows. For a brief second, they hesitated, thrumming with palpable tension. The air hummed, heavy with a tumult of emotions, as if they were contemplating the weight of her words. "What you offer comes with a cost, child," the haunting voice replied, mocking her defiance. Sarah clenched her fists, every muscle tight with resolve. "What choice do I have left? To hold on to the past is to keep them chained. I would rather sacrifice my regrets than lose those I love." The shadows swelled, a typhoon of chaos as they gathered, swirling around her with newfound urgency. A storm inside her churned dangerously, but in that maelstrom, she sensed the burgeoning light from her heart, fueled by her determination. "Then feel it," the voice whispered, chillingly seductive. "Embrace the shadows. Accept your pain. I accept that I am stronger than my fears." She screamed back, the words erupting from the depth of her soul. "I accept that sacrifice, true sacrifice, means embracing the pain and transforming it into something powerful." The shadows recoiled slightly, as if they were not used to receiving such fierce resistance. They pressed in closer, desperate to snatch away her resolve, but Sarah felt a surge of warmth. All the love she felt for her family, the memories of laughter, tears, and triumph blossomed within her, pushing against the darkness like a dam breaking. With every heartbeat, she let the anticipation of their freedom fill her spirit, mingling with her pain and morphing it into light. She took a deep breath as she prepared for what was to come. "I am not afraid of what I must face. Take my shadows, but leave me my heart." The stories of my past will not dictate my future. Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, their forms writhing, pitch black against the fading light. You think the burden is light? You will never escape the shadows, Sarah. We are part of you. Then I will wear them as armor, she declared, her voice ringing out with new conviction. I will transform them into strength. In a flash, the shadows lunged, engulfing her in a whirlwind of chaos. Her vision blurred, her senses overloaded, and yet she remained centered in her decision. Pain coursed through her veins, visions erupting in her mind, faces of those who'd fallen, their struggles reaching out to join hers. She clenched her teeth, emboldened by their sacrifice, and felt the pull of their collective sorrow. No more, Sarah shouted as she fought against the tide, her energy building until she could no longer contain it. With one fierce motion, she thrust her hands forward, channeling every ounce of emotion, the love, the loss, the pain, into a radiant blast of light. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in horror, as the brilliance pushed back against their grasp, breaking their hold and illuminating the night. Be free, Sarah cried as the power exploded outward, transforming the darkness into sparkling gems of light that flitted and soared away from her body. They swept through the wood, casting away the shadows of those lost to the curse, revealing the truth that had rested between each powerful miracle. The whispers of the souls came together, harmonizing into a song that lifted the weight off Sarah's shoulders, their anguish fading away. In return, she felt a rush of clarity flood her spirit. The fifth miracle was connection, a bond that defied time and space. As the last of the darkness danced away like smoke in the wind, Sarah stood. Center stage, each breath filled with purpose. She was no longer merely a witness, but an architect of her destiny. The storm subsided, retreating into whispers of tranquility left in its wake. From the heart of the clearing emerged Lena, her spirit radiant and alive. You did it, Sarah, she said, her voice warm and soothing. You faced the shadows, and with your sacrifice, you have broken their chains. The truth is yours. Will they be free? Sarah asked, seeking confirmation that the voices she had fought for found peace. They are free, but remember, the fight against darkness never truly ends. Lena smiled gently. But now, you carry the light inside you. You are the keeper of the stories, the protector of those lost and their sacrifices made. The fifth miracle lives in you, and with it, you will heal the world. Tears of relief streamed down Sarah's face. Thank you, she whispered, overwhelmed by gratitude. I'll honor their legacy. I'll make sure their truths are told. With a loving nod, Lena began to fade, echoes of the past remaining in Sarah's heart forever. When the last remnants of Lena's spirit vanished, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, wrapping Sarah in a hug of comfort. Now, all that remained was for her to return home, not just to her life, but to her family, lessons carved deep into her heart and chiseled into her soul. Taking a deep breath, Sarah turned back toward the path that led out of the woods, her steps steady, her heart full, knowing she carried both light and shadow in a beautiful balance. As she stepped from the woods into the softly lit dawn, her soul sang anew, ready to embrace whatever came next, aware that every end was but a new beginning. And in that moment, Sarah understood she had not just freed those lost to the shadows, but found herself in the process. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss out on more exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now. It truly helps out the channel and ensures you get more of this heart-stopping content. Flood the comments section with your thoughts on this shocking conclusion, and share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this story wrap up. Don't wait even one more second to share. Be part of this amazing community today.